The Trojan Horse never appears in Homer's Iliad, but Troy itself was real, and archaeologists found evidence that the city was destroyed. So was Homer's Trojan War, based on a real conflict. And how much of the story can archaeology actually prove? The first problem is time. The Iliad and the Odyssey were probably composed in roughly the late 8th or early 7th century BCE. But the world they describe belongs to the late Bronze Age, centuries earlier. That means Homer was not reporting a war he had seen. He was working with stories that had survived through generations of oral tradition, stories repeated, reshaped, and remembered long before they were written down. That does not automatically make them fiction, but it changes the question. We are not looking for a perfect archaeological copy of the Iliad. We are looking for the older events that may have survived inside it. For centuries, the location of Homer's Troy remained uncertain. Then attention focused on a mound called Hisarlik in northwestern Anatolia. Excavations there revealed something far more complicated than a single ruined city. Troy had been built, destroyed, rebuilt, and occupied again and again. Later excavators separated the mound into dozens of archaeological strata, grouped into major settlement phases. In other words, there was no single Troy waiting beneath the ground. There were many Troys stacked on top of one another, and that immediately created a new problem. Which one, if any, belonged to Homer's war? Heinrich Schliemann believed he had the answer. During his 19th century excavations, he uncovered a spectacular collection of gold and other objects, and called it Priam's treasure, linking it to the legendary king of Troy. There was just one problem. The treasure came from a settlement roughly 1,000 years too early to belong to any plausible historical counterpart of Homer's Priam. Schliemann had found something extraordinary, just not the Trojan War. The more interesting candidates were deeper in Troy's later history. Troy 6 was a prosperous, late Bronze Age city, protected by impressive fortifications. When it was destroyed, archaeologist Carl Blegen argued that an earthquake was the more likely cause. The settlement was rebuilt as Troy 7a. Then, near the end of the Bronze Age, that city was destroyed too. Blegen believed this later destruction was the better candidate for the event remembered as the Trojan War. But this is where archaeology reaches its limit. The ruins show that Troy was destroyed, but they can't tell us who attacked it, whether Achilles was there or whether Helen had anything to do with the war. Hittite texts from the late Bronze Age refer to a western Anatolian kingdom called Wilusa. Many scholars consider Wilusa a likely match for Troy. The same records also mention a powerful western people called the Ahhiyawa, often connected with the Mycenaean Greek world, and these were not imaginary kingdoms floating in myth. The Hittite documents describe real diplomacy, political disputes, rebellions, and military conflict in western Anatolia. Some texts even place Wilusa inside that unstable political landscape. This is important, because suddenly the broad outline begins to look familiar. A real city in the region of Troy, powerful states across the Aegean, and conflict between western Anatolia and forces connected with the Mycenaean world. The Hittite records make a Bronze Age conflict more plausible. They do not turn the Iliad into a history book. This is where the question becomes harder than it first appears. There may not have been one single event that became the Trojan War. The Hittite evidence points to several conflicts and political crises in western Anatolia across generations. Troy itself suffered more than one major destruction, and the Mycenaean world was interacting with Anatolia long before its own palace system collapsed, around the end of the Bronze Age. So the story remembered by later Greeks may have compressed different events into one enormous war. A siege from one generation, a ruler from another, an older memory of conflict. Then centuries of storytelling binding them together. That possibility cannot be proven, but it explains something archaeology keeps showing us. The background of the legend looks increasingly historical, while the story itself remains impossible to verify. Which brings us back to the strangest part of the story, the Trojan Horse. If you only read the Iliad, you never see it. The poem ends with Hector's funeral, while Troy is still standing. The wooden horse does appear in the Odyssey, where characters remember Greek warriors hiding inside a hollow wooden structure. Other parts of the story survived in later Greek epic traditions, and the version most people recognize today, with Sinon Laocoon's warning, the sea serpents, and the horse being dragged through the walls, was famously preserved in Virgil's Aeneid, written more than 1,000 years after the supposed war. The farther the story moved from Bronze Age Troy, the more detailed it became, but more detail does not mean more evidence. No archaeological discovery has confirmed a giant wooden horse, and after more than 3,000 years, we should not expect a wooden structure to survive simply because the story describes one. That leaves room for theories. Perhaps there really was some kind of deception involving a wooden object. Perhaps the horse preserves the memory of a military device. Perhaps it became a symbol attached to an older story of Troy's destruction. We may never know what the Trojan horse really was, but that is also true of the war itself. Archaeology found Troy, and the Bronze Age world behind Homer was real. What it never found was Homer's story. Somewhere between those ruins and the legend, the Trojan War was born.